Once you come to a seat, start noticing where you can place your hands on your belly. And start noticing how your organs can touch your belly and how you can start noticing your organs touch your hands and your hands touch your organs. We don't think about the security that our organs provide for our body. Yet by tapping into our organs, it's kind of hard at first because it's a different way of tapping in. Notice which way it flows easiest. To the left, to the right, front, back. Does it rotate? Does it go to a side more easily? Is there a sound that it might make? Take it breath by breath, feeling by feeling. And the more that you notice, does it notice you back? Can your head move from it because you're noticing your tail move? There's a certain texture to your organs that is different versus your bone texture or your muscle texture. It's more liquidy. After all, we are 70% water, 75%, depending on what anatomy book you read. And then taking the time to do this allows your spine to feel more secure. Our first spine was not our own, it was our mother's. And feeling into our organs allows our spine to feel independent. Come to a seat. Maybe a blanket still is underneath there, and start hinging forward and back from your tailbone space, your sits bone space. If you have a pole, you can place it behind your back and really feel how your tail goes into the pole and your tail brings you back. You can feel the pole initiating if you have one. Hinging forward from your waist rather than your rib cage. Notice how you initiate from your pelvic area. Doing this a couple more times, maybe pause at one point and then come back, put it down. Move things aside. Start to rotate a little bit. How can you rotate? By leaning your tailbone back and rotating towards the other side using your hand. Letting your tailbone go back behind you as you rotate towards your left. And then as you rotate towards your right. Letting your head be the last thing that rotates. Letting your pelvis do it first. A couple more times, side to side. Really just feeling the rotation. The way that our spine moves in an up and down pattern and a rotational movement. This is just checking in. Letting your tailbone initiate everything gives you a deep sense of your spine moving. Now let's turn around, come to tabletop position. Seated position rather. Checking in with the organs for a second. And before moving around, grabbing your stick, coming up into standing with it. Place the stick in your fingertip area. Feel the weight of the stick in your hands. Palms are not gripping the stick, but they're just hanging, as you can see in the photo I'm showing you, elbows wide, just hanging. Feel the earth touch you back. Feel the stick start to tuck your chin down. You're going to tuck and roll, but feeling the weight of the stick take you there. Rather than just rolling with your head and going down like normal, we're letting our fascial system feel the stick and how the stick then takes us down into a forward fold. orienting with objects is what we're doing here. How does the object have a different effect on your fascial system? Feeling weight once you get into a forward fold, feel weight into the stick and your sits bones and your heels. Let your sits bones and tailbone start to lengthen towards the floor as you start to roll up, still feeling the weight in your hands to still stretch your fascial system in the other direction. So while your feet are going down, your tailbone is going down, your spine is going down, your head and arms are still stretching towards the stick. So you're getting two-way directional stretch while you lengthen your sits bones down as you roll up. Slow down at any point. Breathe into the spaces you're curious about. Once you get up into standing, just kind of give it a shuffle, wiggle. Take the stick into one hand. Let's go into rotations. It doesn't matter where you place the stick, just notice that the stick is moving the rotation. So it's really easy for your body to move the stick, but let the stick move and then let your body follow. I messed it up a few times the first time so you can see what it looks like. But after a while, you're starting to follow the stick. Move the stick with your hand and then let your body follow. Move the stick into a different spot. Play around with where you can go or where you can't go. Notice. Then move the stick however you would like. But move the stick and let your body follow. Our spine loves to rotate. It's how it rejuvenates itself and recoils so it can walk and land on the ground in gravity. So this practice with a stick just allows us to orient with objects of how we orient to objects around us. Switch hands. Remember, it doesn't matter where you put the stick, just as long as you want to play with that area first. Curiosity. Don't let it kill you, but let it guide you. And notice if it wants to go in or out, up, down, forward, back. Follow the stick movement. It's very easy for you just to move the stick. Let the stick move first and then let your body be something that orients around the stick. Breathe with the rotations. You can move the stick at any time in a different position. Can even play with side bending. Because side bend and a rotation happen together no matter what. So this is anything goes moment, but with intention of moving the stick first while your body is second. This is changing your body's orientation, which changes your fascial system. Couple more rounds on this side. Being curious and letting curiosity lead. And if you take a big breath at any time, that's your nervous system calming down or finding center, chilling out. Okay, let's put the stick down. Let's come onto the floor. Take a sip of water, that's important. What we're coming into next is moving the knee away from the pelvis while the pelvis stays on the floor. Same with the hand and elbow. So pick a leg you want to work with and keep that knee up towards the ceiling and lengthen the other leg. And then come back with both legs and let's come into pouring. Both legs move side to side. Which way do you want to roll? Let yourself roll. Roll side to side, roll back and forth. You're letting your liquids do this. Really allowing yourself just to pour side to side, yielding into the floor once you get to a side. Letting yourself rest on the floor before you go to the other side. It'll be a feeling of your liquids just wanting to pour or roll over towards the other side. And if you need to pause in the center to feel your liquids, play around with your knees to see where the liquid is going again, please be my guest. But once you roll to a side, just let yourself lay on the floor and rest, yield, feel the floor touch you back and support you. And then somewhere in there, there's a sensation of, I can roll somewhere. I can have the liquid go there. Where is that space? Can I follow it? Eventually it brings you back. Once you're back, it pushes you to the other side, just like an undercurrent of a wave in the ocean, yielding you on the floor again, supporting you, coming back after you found support. Find a movement now where you can wiggle on the floor. Move your hair out of the way if you have long hair. Let both legs be underneath you. Notice what leg you want to have on the floor. Let that leg come down. What we're doing in this next piece is reaching the knee away from you towards the other wall while your low back comes into the floor. Arms are at a 90-degree angle or by your sides, whichever is comfortable. So allow your knee that's up towards the ceiling to go away from you while letting your low back stay on the floor. This is odd the first couple of times you do it. Imagine someone is holding on to your shin and pulling it in a direction. Keep going with the direction while your low back then is being anchored to the floor. And it takes a couple times to really feel this. Sense the weight of your bones coming down in your low back while your knee goes forward. It might be a pushing sensation. It might be a reaching sensation with your foot. The less effort, the better. Can you breathe while you're discovering a new sensation? Is it possible to slow down so you can feel more? Let that leg come down, rest, rejuvenate before you do the other side. Still imagining that the knee is going in the opposite direction as your back is going so that it can decompress. When things are going in two directions, the middle gets decompressed. This is our goal here with our back, and reaching the knee in an opposite direction while our back is going into the floor is decompression of your low back and your fascial system. Soft reach into your foot into the floor while the knee goes in a different direction. Low back takes its time to come to the floor. Be patient. There's nothing to rush with the experience. Breathe through your nose and out through either your mouth or your nose, whichever one is more comfortable for you while you do this. Let your legs come down, rejuvenate, refresh, and take your right hand beside you or to the side, anywhere that's comfortable where you can start reaching your elbow up towards the ceiling. And if you need to, you can take your other arm on top of the elbow just to kind of discover where the elbow wants to be or can be pulled from. Let it come down and then redirect your attention to reaching the elbow in a different direction, while this time your rib cage stays on the floor. Particularly this one was a little bit more challenging, so slow down. There's no rush when it comes to being accurate or discovering something for the first time. Just imagine your rib cage staying in one spot while your elbow discovers a place. It's kind of like having your dog on a leash. You're staying in one spot and the dog is discovering places on a leash while you are stationary in the center. A couple more rounds before moving. can even take the other hand to touch your rib cage if you need a little bit more assistance. Whatever hand is on the floor, same knee and foot can reach into space to support that. Reaching in an opposite direction while allowing your rib cage to come down towards the floor. Taking your time is something that we never really think about, and we have to let time do its job before moving on. It's very easy to just check in for a second and move on. Come and let your legs to come down and just take a second, rejuvenate, figure out what it feels like before moving on. What does one shoulder blade feel like versus the other one? Place your other foot on the floor, other hand on the floor or near you somewhere. And let's begin. If you need a little assistance by taking your other hand on your elbow just to figure out where your elbow would like to go in space and where it feels like it can be pulled, do that. I notice that I go back and forth in between that quite a bit in this practice. Is where can my elbow be pulled from? Remembering the sensation of weight in your rib cage. Take an inhale into a space you're curious about. Exhale, feel your rib cage get heavier as your elbow goes further away from you. Small sensation of the foot that's on the ground into the elbow that's reaching, but your knee is reaching in the opposite direction, because two directions gives us a sense of space. You can imagine two people walking away from each other. That's a sense of space. A couple more minutes with this, feeling how your rib cage comes down as you reach away. It's not an easy exercise. Let's come down, straighten your legs. Feel what it feels like to recheck in before we move on. Right foot, right hand on the floor. This time we're going to roll in the opposite direction. So take a couple presses with your foot and your hand in opposite directions while feeling your rib cage and your low back coming into the floor. It's interesting the first couple times you do this. This is why we did this individually on each side, so it really had an understanding of individuality. But now we're doing it as a pair. How does your knee reach? How does your elbow reach? While you let your spine start to rotate and open in the front. If you need to see, there's not much going on in this video because there's a lot of negotiation happening before I actually roll over to make the motion happen. It's not a big motion either. It's whatever you can do appropriately with still keeping the honesty and integrity of your knee reaching and your elbow reaching. And to come back, you're feeling weight in your rib cage, weight in your pelvis, still reaching in two directions to come back to center. And let's switch sides, but take a moment to let your legs rest and feel a second before you switch. Left elbow, left foot. And when you're ready, take a couple of times with how does my knee reach in an opposite direction? How does my elbow reach in the opposite direction? How do they do this together before starting to make the roll from side to side? And again, it's a negotiation that you have to slow down and find out. Once you get it, then you can start reaching your knee and elbow in an opposite direction while your spine starts to roll and articulate and open up the front of your chest. You can feel the front of your pelvis rolling. And to come back, you're feeling weight in your spine to eventually roll back, and it might take you a moment to feel that. But try not to initiate your body doing it, initiate your liquids doing it. And if you don't get it on the first try, it's okay. Just keep trying at this. Switch sides. Right foot, right hand. Notice the negotiation before you start to rotate. The more you do this, the easier it gets. Initiating with going in two directions to find rotation. Come back to neutral and then switch sides. Negotiate before you rotate. Take your time. There's no limit of how long you have to stay. It's a sensation. Let your legs come to neutral. Roll side to side for a second. And if there's a side you want to redo or revisit, come back to that. Which side do you need more information on? How can you still reach in two directions? This is a sense of going inward to find more information of how you can reach in two directions, not only on the floor, but also in life after this exercise, because your fascial system will be so expanded. Okay, let's switch sides just to make it a little bit more even. Check in with negotiation. Negotiate to then rotate. Feel the weight in your spine and your organs behind you to come back into the floor. Legs come long. And swivel side to side, eventually coming up to your hands and knees. Take your time to get there, maybe a few extra movements on the way. Tabletop position with moving the hips, moving the shoulders, really moving. I like to move from, my head and my tail to ends of the pole rather than moving from the center of the pole. Notice what it feels like to move from the two ends of the pole. Now shift your weight back into your shins and then press into your shins as you roll up into arms out to the side, chin is last. Exhale, tilt your tailbone back behind you as your arms go forward. And then press into your shins, your pubic bone will go up and open your arms out to the side to expand open into your front fascial line. Tilt your tailbone back a few times so you can feel how your butt goes back, your arms go forward. Press down through your shins to activate your pubic bone, and it lifts you up to open your arms. It's all in the shins and the pubic bone. Lean back. And come back into hands and knees. Come into a seat. Place your hands on your belly again. And if you need something underneath your butt, I noticed I grabbed something, so give yourself a prop up. Your organs start to initiate the movement. It's old patterning to let your bones and muscles do it. New patterning, allowing your organs to initiate. Have a sense of, I can be first. Does this sensation feel easier for you to tap into? Is there more of a liquidier sensation? I like making up words. Is there more of a side-to-side, forward-back motion? Can you sit with your sensation more?